Good morning, everybody. Mike Wright, Edge Home Finance, and I have the pleasure today of having Nick Dreher here, who is a man of many titles. I'm going to just read him off. He's a team lead at Keller Williams in Roseville. He's an author, coach, consultant, well-connected guru, and you know what's best? All-American great man. Nick, thank you very much for coming, my friend.
Hey, you know what, Mike? I'm honored to be here, man. I think what you've done with this podcast vlog, with this show, has exposed some really great nuggets to a larger audience, and so
Cool.
I appreciate you having me on.
Now, it's what we've tried to do with this, and Jake, who's my partner on this deal, we're trying to find who's most influential in the real estate world, yet who has nuggets that they can pass on. I think so often our worlds get to be so me. It's how can we help everybody become better people, better agents, etc.
You know, I recently heard an idea, and it's a spectrum, right? On one end, you have me go.
Yep.
And on the other hand, you have we go.
Yeah.
And the me go, what do they say? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Correct. Yeah. And I think that speaks volumes with the different, and we'll dive into the different companies, but I think that differentiates many companies as well.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about, you filled some pretty big feet with Andy leaving.
Yeah.
Todd is an amazing human.
Yeah.
How did he end up in the role? Because I know you've had a vast background, but that's a huge positive.
You know, I've been asked to go through the team leader search process before. I got close in one of the other offices a few years ago. And I'll be really honest and a little vulnerable in this, is that the idea of being a team leader, if you accept the role and you accept it the way that I have, and I think some of the incredible people, whether they're team leaders with Keller Williams or whether they're team leaders that own teams, like we had mentioned, Mr. O'Neill and a few others.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to compare myself to Ryan, but I think that there's a time in our life where we're afraid of accountability, and we're afraid of what it's going to take to have an impact on, in my case, 200 agents' lives. Right. To be able to be committed to that, and if you're not ready to be committed to that, you self-deselect at some point, right?
Wow. You got 200 people in that office?
Yeah.
That's very, very impressive. It's a beautiful, if you haven't ever been to the KW in Roseville, Todd, Nick, and Andy have just done an amazing job at developing that. It's just a gorgeous setup.
Well, you know, one, I think it's an incredible office. I was grateful that the work of designing the office was done prior to me.
Yeah, right.
That was a good thing. But you know what I was really drawn to with this is, and again, there are a lot of different real estate brands, and I have been lucky enough to be intimately invited into the back offices, the back rooms, to really know what companies are doing.
Right.
And I've been invited to consult or to look at their management systems or their agent productivity systems. And when the market collapsed in 06, 07, 08, depending on where you pin the time of your change in your career.
Right.
What we found, I think, was models and systems, habits, and who you surrounded yourself with. And so when this opportunity became available, Andy Noble, who has some big shoes, he's a smart guy.
Correct.
He's thoughtful. He really is a really smart, capable leader. And stepping into his shoes and stepping into the office, what I went to look for was basic for me. It was I wanted an office where I could have an impact on agents. So truth be told, I knew fewer agents in Roseville than I know maybe in any real estate brokerage in the Twin Cities.
Right.
I like the diversity of the office. So one of the things that I've spent a lot of time on in the last few years is understanding the impact of redlining. The idea that that racism or what we experience in terms of what our business looks like. For most of my life, my business looked like guys like you and me, and that's that's great.
Right.
And there's an opportunity right now, or there has been an opportunity created to provide additional opportunities to people who weren't given those opportunities.
Yeah, good.
And I use the word given, guys. I don't know if I mean given. Provide an opportunity for people to improve their own lives.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's an amazing industry.
Yes.
And as we've talked about in many of these these interviews, is everybody functions differently.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine the talent it takes to run 200 different people, because not only they got the personal issues, you got all this different stuff, and you're trying to corral everybody and make winners. And so that's an interesting deal.
Yeah, so it's diverse. It's smack dab in the middle. If you think about Roseville itself, where Roseville's located, I mean we're a core urban market center.
Yeah.
I mean we're not downtown St. Paul, although we have office there. We're not downtown Minneapolis, but we're in that area where there's a lot of diversity, and there is. It's close. I mean, you can get from pretty much from there in about 20
all
minutes.
Over the place, yeah.
So
right.
That was also important to me.
Yeah.
It's close to home. I'm 20 minutes from my house,
Beautiful.
door to door, which means I can spend more time in the office.
Yep.
Instead of on the road.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that's with your experience. I mean, and I think that this brings up a great question. So, what are some of I know you have weekly meetings.
Yep.
What are some of the techniques that you do for coaching? I mean, how do you give people these one-to-ones? You got 200 people.
Yeah.
If they're in your face
Yep.
all the time, how can you possibly survive?
I go back to the one thing that I think makes the most sense that we don't talk enough about. Real estate, a lot of times, in many positions, sales positions, there's a difference between motivation. We'll call motivation excitement. The noise in our lives, this is going to be awesome, and we've all been there, right?
Right.
But what I think I've found in my career, and what we're finding more now, is that I need less motivation Mondays, and I need more habit hacks in my life.
Yeah.
What are the habits that I've created, and who are the people in my life that are capable of those habits themselves, or doing it at a better pace than me, right? And so I think it comes back to this is the reason Keller Williams in this situation made the most sense for me is that for a lot of my life I thought, there were moments where I definitely thought I'm the smartest guy in the room. And I was the only person in the room then, I guess. I think when we get older, we start to realize that I'm not the smartest guy in the room, nor do I want to be the smartest guy in the room. And so when you talk about models and systems and how to manage in a market center with 200 people, staff, agents, let's break it down to bite-sized consumable pieces. So first things first, we have a great team meeting. The team meeting for us is still the stalwart of activity, right? Our team meetings are twofold. One is to provide them some ideas of what's coming up, right?
Yep.
What does CE look like? It's kind of the baseline for our activities. This is what's happening this week in your market center, and that's 15 minutes.
Right.
And then we move into, let's do some education stuff. So what we've really been focused on recently is the MREA book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, as a model and system for your business, right? And then secondly is bringing in guests to have conversations about what these particular models and systems look like in their business.
Right.
Then I meet with those people on a one-on-one basis, our top 20%. So I'm with a top 20% guy, meaning I coach our top 20% of our agents.
Yep.
How do I coach them? I take a look at, we start with what do they want? You know,
Right.
what do you want to
Right.
accomplish? And then why do you want to accomplish that, right? If an agent comes to me and says, I want to do $25 million in business. Okay, why is $25 million, why is that number important to you, right?
Right.
And when they tell me why it's important to them, we're going to go a little bit deeper. So you want to put your kid in a private school, right? You want to provide for your parents who don't have a whole lot, but you could provide an opportunity to them for have more and enjoy their retirement and enjoy the golden years of their life. When we tie our lives into the why, we can start to get real about the activities, the pain we're willing to endure to achieve an outcome, right? And I think that gets missed a lot, is that it's not easy. It's not going to be easy.
Right.
If it was easy, it would be 2021 again.
Right.
And we would all be, there's inventory and interest rates are low and there's model, we're in multiple offers and everything is fantastic and everybody's doing more business than they've ever done. That's a great place, but that's not the truth.
That's not the reality. And I think the market where we're at now, with rates rising, with low inventory, it's critical because it can get pretty disheartening. I mean, not only for yourself as a real estate agent, but for your buyers. They're going into these offers. Now we're back into this multiple offer deal again, right?
Yep.
So when you are their accountability partner,
Yep.
and I'm going to mention Jake again because with this event, he's my accountability partner, right? He helps me tremendously by pushing, who's your guest? Have you called them? And I love that. So,
well, you and I talked a little bit about this on the phone the other day in preparation for this morning, and that was when we have habits, when we have accountability partners, right? When we have musts, right? How do you create a must in your life? You tie it to someone else. If you know that Jake is going to be here today, right?
Yep.
You know that you too have to show up. And then when you know that you're going to show up, you have to make sure I show up.
Yep.
So you're in communication with me this entire time. You've created a model or a system and an accountability, a tie down to the activity that makes it so you do it. Otherwise, like we discussed, you end up going, well, I can get to that. And I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that. And you never get to it, right?
Correct.
You just don't do it.
Yeah.
And then you complain about not doing it. And it's an evil cycle.
So are you encouraging your people within your, and again, now we got 200 people. You've got people that are doing one deal a year, people that are doing 25 million, right? And so do you break the pods down?
Break them down.
Yeah.
I think the only way to be successful is everybody's at a different place in their career. Even an agent, if you take two agents and they're both doing $10 million, their businesses are going to be different, but it's the most tangible when we can identify the things that they're doing and that are working. So if you're closing $10 million, I'm going to coach you like I'm coaching the other $10 million producers. But we're going to break that down even further. Is why do you what is it that this gets you? Why do you want to sell more real estate? And it's not a bad thing. It's also not necessarily a good thing.
For certain people,
right?
Each personalities are different.
Well, and that's the thing is that if you really like what you're doing at $300,000 a year in income, and you're at $10 million and you like your life and it's manageable and you still have to do the work, right? I mean, you're still doing the work. If I was to push you to 15 million, would that significantly impact the quality of your life?
Right.
The question you always have to come back to before you make a decision, in my opinion, is why are you going to do this?
Right.
If you don't do that, Mike, what you end up with is you end up with people that are selling a lot of real estate that are completely and wildly unhappy in their life.
Yeah, because that's what they're doing constantly.
And then they leave it.
Yep.
Right? And then they go, I have an agent right now that came to me. Her team is at about $16.5 million a year. And she said, I want to sell real estate for 3 more years and then I want to leave.
Yep.
What? Okay, what?
Right.
Well, I just don't love it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, but you do it really well, or you're doing it better than most.
Right.
So let's identify what's changed. What's not working in your life? And then on another conversation, she says, well, I want to do this. I want to do more business because of this. And I think identifying to them what it is that helping them identify, you can't identify it, helping them self-discover through a series of questions as to why they do this, what they want out of it. Oftentimes you'll discover there's that moment where you go, yep, that's it. And then you tell them, do you think that maybe it's that you have no control over your time right now? And if you had more control over your time, and you had more control over your database, and you had more control over your technology and your use of social media, that you could compartmentalize your life in a way that would allow you to still show up at your kid's t-ball game,
right?
To show up for date night with your spouse,
balance of life.
And creating balance is difficult because we're often out of balance,
right?
But identifying why you want something, and when you get there, how to identify, okay, do I want to take another step, or do I want to live here for now? Do I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor? Oftentimes, I think we put the idea that if we're not putting the smashing the pedal down to the ground, that's failure.
Correct.
Failure is when you are not getting what you want out of your business or your life, and you get to a point and go, wait a minute, I made X, that's fantastic, but I'm not fulfilled with X. And if I had Y more, that's not it either. I want to find balance so that I can be home at a certain time, so that I'm serving my clients the best I can serve them. And that's what I think we lose too often in the hustle idea right now, right? Everybody's on the grind. I don't want to be on a grind. I'm willing to do the work, but I want to find some enjoyment in my life connected to what I'm achieving.
You know, Nick, is just crazy. That is so spot on, but it's so critical on this leadership role, right? In the coaching role. And, you know, I'm blessed enough to have you here, some great people in the past, Long, Mike, great friends of mine, right? But what I learned from all of you is it's not you preaching down to people, right? It's how do we find this way where everyone's going to be happy? And what is happy? 100K, 5K, maybe it's money, not at all. It's I love what I do, and I love helping people. Right?
I heard somebody say this the other day. You stop trying to light a fire underneath people and light a fire in people.
Yeah.
Because then they're going to go farther. I think coaching, consulting, any sort of where someone's coming to you for advice, we oftentimes provide this accountability or this idea of your success or your success in comparison. And then I feel like somebody's lit a fire underneath me. And if you've ever had a boss that tried to do that, it doesn't feel good. It feels a lot better when somebody helps you discover why you do what you do, so that tomorrow morning when I get up, the first thing in my mind is not, I don't want to do this today.
Right.
If that's a thought that you have every single day, find somebody else in your life that can show you that it's not about that. It's about, I wake up in the morning, you guys, and this is another nugget, right? Somebody asked me, you haven't asked, but maybe you would, why do I not sell real estate?
Right.
That's a conversation that gets asked to me a lot. Nick, you wrote a book about selling real estate. And this is the best way I can tell you. I found a passion for the person, not the transaction. That just didn't do it enough for me. While I loved helping people, right? I loved helping buyers and sellers. That was a small scale for me. When I got into consulting and coaching and leadership positions in which I could have a more immediate impact on people who, I always tell the story of the 3 a.m. boogie monster. And the 3 a.m. boogie monster, we've all dealt with it, some of us longer than others, where you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's always 3, I don't know why, and you have an elephant sitting on your chest, man.
Yep.
And you're like, and your spouse is next to you, your partner's next to you, and all you can think about is how you don't have a deal to close that month, how you go to work every day and you work, and I use air quotes, right? You're working, but really what you did is you went in, you stood around the coffee machine in the front desk, and you chatted with the girls there, and or the guys. You chatted with the people there, and then you went back, you sent some emails, maybe you made a call or two. Well, it's time to go home. I don't have a listing or showings tonight, so I'm going to go home at 4 o'clock. that scariness that happens to you at 3 o'clock in the morning isn't unique to you. Your ability to create a better system for yourself is there. I honestly, Mike, I struggled with my mental health in that arena for a long time, in not feeling good enough, not feeling like I could do it. And that one day I had to make a shift. And that shift came when I acknowledged the scary, I acknowledged the boogie monster.
Yep.
And you know what I did? I said, okay, I'm going to stop letting this person eat me up. So how can I get there?
Yeah.
Do the work, do the activities, commit to a habit and a system that you'll do for not for a day or 2 days or 3 days or 5 days, but you're going to do until you stop doing it, right?
And I think we had a great conversation last week with a recruiter who basically said everybody's different, right? And you have to realize what's internal yourself, you guys. I mean, I work with some of the best people in the world that are doing 20, 30 deals a month. I can't be that guy, nor do I really want to be honest with you, right?
I think that's what it comes down to.
Everyone's different.
Where do you want to spend your time?
Yeah.
Who do you want to spend your time with, and what does it take for you to get there?
Yeah.
And that's where I think what I find with coaching most agents is they don't know why they do what they do.
Right.
Most of us don't know why we do what we do. We do it because I heard it on a podcast.
Right.
We do it because I know that it's going to help me pay the bills. But then we wonder why there's a chasm, right? A gap between the fulfillment that we get from that, right? So if you know what you do, if you wanted to be a teacher and you knew that you wanted to be a math teacher, of all things in the world, you just knew it.
Yep.
I envy you.
Right,
I envy you because you woke up one morning with a passion to do something that you know is something that you love to do. So when you get up in the morning and you go do that, yeah, you're going to have bad days, and teaching isn't simple. And once you get past the niceties of being a teacher, you have to deal with the realities of being a teacher. But if you know that that's why you're doing it, it's simpler to do it.
It makes it easier.
Right?
Yeah,
no matter what the money is.
But that gets all back to knowing what is your why.
Yes.
Right? And I think that is the critical piece. So we had talked prior to this. Tristan Amata, who is a brilliant agent out of California, he came up with this list, and I'm going to just show you briefly here. These are all the options that realtors have to market.
Yes.
I mean, a new person coming in looks at this and says, for the love of God, what am I going to be doing? A person like Nick, who's going to rein you in, because it gets overwhelming, doesn't it? How do you handle that with social media and all the different marketing? I mean, there's only so much money, time, etc.
So when we wrote the book, Mindset, Methods, and Metrics, the reason that I'm grateful to have that been a part of that project more than I can articulate to anybody.
And just so you know, that's Marshall Saunders and Brandon
Doyle. Yep.
Doyle, yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant minds.
So the cool thing is find people that are smarter than you. They're both wildly intelligent human beings.
Yeah, they are.
Brandon is and I always say this when I'm asked about the book. Marshall is wildly intelligent with a level of experience and an understanding of humanity and people. Brandon is a force of nature. When Brandon sets his mind to something, he does it. And so that project arguably would not have come to conclusion had we not had Brandon as a part of that. But when we wrote the book, we all had content, we all enjoyed coaching and consulting, and we were coming out of a market shift in which we all discovered some things about ourselves and about the industry that we could say, hey, right?
Right.
And so I think what you have to if I look at Tristan's chart and I look at the chaos that the average agent is going to see from that. Now, in the chart itself, you guys, it's an incredible chart because it actually segments it, right? It's got all these segments of things that you can do. So what I would tell a real estate agent, and it's different for everybody, but let's just say that it's a new agent coming into the business right now.
Yep.
A new agent Nick, what do I do? What am I going to do? Find an accountability partner to start with.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Start there. Find an accountability partner. The reason I go to the gym is because I know that there's going to be my buddy is going to be there. Grant is going to be there. Travis is going to be there. And if I don't show up, one, they're going to be relentless on ribbing me for it. And two, I know that I'm disappointing somebody, right?
Correct.
So naturally, most humans don't want to disappoint each other. So by having that conversation, having somebody, so who are you accountable to today? Have you told your spouse what this means for your partner? Have you told your children what this means and why you're doing this? Have you told your parents why you're doing this? Find that person in your business that is on that same journey, and so that I can call you up and say, hey, Mike, how are things going this week?
Right.
Well, Nick, they're okay. Well, let's talk about the real numbers. What did you make your calls this week? Yeah. Well, that doesn't sound like that doesn't sound like you're committed to it, Mike. Did you make your calls this week? No, I didn't. I fell short, 15 short on my calls, which means I also fell short on my appointments, which means I also fell short on getting any new deals into the pipe. So in that moment, it's a bit shameful, but that correction, right, is where people change, is in correction. A lot of us were taught to fear correction. I don't want to be yelled at. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to fail. Well, without correction, failure is almost certain.
Correct.
Right? And
Yep.
so be in that moment of being willing to see yourself for your own failures, and you can do that best with somebody else. So number one, if you're a new agent, find somebody you're accountable to.
Is it comfort too?
No.
It's got to be comfortable too, right? Because Nick is not going to be a scolding person, right? It's so you have to be comfortable. Number two?
Yeah, I mean, be comfortable with the person, be comfortable, but also give them the permission to hold you accountable, right? And so the holding you accountable, I had I had a coach early on, a mentor, Rick Bandemir. Former OP for a Keller Williams office. And when I moved to KW, he coached me initially. And he said, we're more likely to run from fear than we are to run towards pleasure.
Yeah, that's a
So here's what his fear was. I want you to write a check for $150. I mean, at the time I wasn't making a whole lot of money. I want you to write a check for $150, and I want you to write it to your former broker. And if you don't accomplish what you're asking me to hold you accountable to, we're going to send that check to your old broker. And I did not want to do that. He had me write 2 checks at the beginning. He cashed, the other check went through. And you bet my former broker called me on the phone and said, I don't know why you sent me this check, but you can guess I'm going to cash it. And he did. He cashed it. That was a painful moment, right?
Right.
So find that accountability partner that understands there's a difference. This is something I've been talking a lot about lately, is there's a difference between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is where you say to somebody, oh, Mike, I understand. It's not a great day. Don't worry about it. It's raining outside. And you know what? Go home, tuck yourself in, read a book, have some chicken noodle soup. I get it. You could quit today.
Yeah.
Empathy says, you know what, Mike? I appreciate that today isn't great. I appreciate that you don't have it in you today to do it. What can we do today that is going to move you along forward because you're keeping pace? I want you to tie you back to why you chose to do this. And so be the empathetic person in people's life.
Yeah.
Don't be sympathetic. Sympathetic leads to complacency and acceptance of shortcomings. Empathy says, I'm behind you, Mike. I know you got it in you to do it. Today might not be the greatest day, but I'll tell you what, if you got on that treadmill for 20 minutes today, just to do it today, the habit continues to form.
Yeah.
The activities continue to build within you, and the result that you want to get is 20 minutes closer today than it was if you didn't do it today.
Didn't do anything.
That's it.
Yeah.
So you asked, all right, so what would I tell somebody number 2? My number 2 would be create a model and a system that you're willing to work. So what does that look like for them? So let's map out your day. Let's time block the activities that you're doing.
Yeah, time blocking.
We talk all about technology right now. We have AI we could talk about. We talk about virtual assistants. We talk about all of these time savers in people's lives. And still, when I ask most agents, what does your day look like? How do you work your day? Well, I get up and I start working, and I just work until I can't work anymore, and then I go to bed. Okay, how is that working for you, right?
Right.
If I'm gonna go on a road trip, I plan for the road trip.
Yep.
I identify where I'm gonna go, where I should stop along the way, what are the needs for me to get from point A to point B. The same thing goes in your business. So let's talk today about where you want to go. Nick, in the first year, I'd like to sell 9 homes. Okay. Well, I know the easy economic math on 9 homes, right? If you're going to sell 9, well, okay, let's use numbers as a different mic. Let's say I want to make $100,000 this year. Okay, $100,000, you want to take that home, or is that the gross? Most agents are like, well, what do you mean?
What's the difference?
What do you mean? What's
Right,
okay?
right.
So then we explain to them the difference and say, okay, you want to net $100,000, meaning you have to sell. In our market, the average commission per side right now is 10.5. Right, that's about what they're going to make per side, based on our average market price. So in order to hit that, I'm going to need you to sell 14 homes. In order to sell 14 homes, how many people do you have to be in communication with? Well, we used a number in the book that is pretty widely held throughout the industry, that people need 40 contacts for every 1 transaction, 40 substantive conversations in which we're discussing, Mike, let's talk about your real estate needs and your real estate wants and how to get you there. Okay, that's one conversation. So I have 40 conversations. So I'm looking at what, 160 more. So what's that? 1,160 conversations I have to have. Now, okay, guys, that sounds like a lot, right? And it is. But what if I told you that if you work 240 days a year, that's all, 240, meaning take a couple week vacations, take the weekends off, take your wife on vacation, or your spouse, your partner, attend your kids' field
Events.
Trips, right? Define your life. So I want to work 2/3 of the year is what I'm willing to give up my life.
Right.
Okay, so to do that, then that means that the days that I work of those 240, I'm making roughly, you guys, 4.5 conversations a day. Can you tell me that you can't make 4.5 real estate conversations happen in your life every single day that you're working? I would argue that you're going to find even more than that if you make it a point.
Well, and I think it's a natural attrition that the more you make, the more it's just going to, accumulate for you.
Yeah.
Correct?
But Mike, that's exactly right. You get these moments where the more work you're doing, the more you're attracting, and the more conversations you're having. And before you know it, you find yourself at a place that you never expected to be.
Right.
Because you committed to the habits and the models and systems of saying, I know that I have to have 4.5 phone calls today. Well, there is no half, so I guess I'm doing 5, right?
Right.
So I'm going to do 5 this week, or 5 today, 25 this week. I'm going to make 25 substantive conversations that I'm going to get into people this week with. And you do that over the course of a year, and you find yourself in a wildly different place. Agents will say, okay, Nick, which is what Tristan's getting at with the chart.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what else do I have to do? Start there. You found an accountability partner, or you have a coach, somebody that's going to hold you accountable, right? You now are committed to making the phone calls. That's the easiest place to start. Then we can talk about, well, what is social media?
Right.
What is social media? What is it? We all do it. We all have it. How many of us are making?
Likes,
Right?
Yeah.
What does it really look like? Is it manageable? Does an agent who is 50, does an agent that's 50 or older, do they have to be in social media? Yeah, you can. You don't have to be. Maybe you're an agent, a millennial or younger, and you're like, do I have to be in social media? You can, but you don't have to be.
Correct.
Is social media an opportunity for you to rapidly expand the visibility of yourself? Absolutely. But what we know about social media is it's a lot of noise.
It's a lot
of noise.
Yep.
And the other thing is I won't swear on your show, Mike, but it's a lot of BS. Man, Everybody's got the picture of the sold sign and you think everybody's out selling homes. You ever want to check and see what people are actually doing?
Right.
Compare against, call me up.
Yeah.
I'll show you their broker metrics and we'll show you the difference between perception and reality. Yeah, they're driving a Mercedes. Yeah, they're saying they have closings every week. But they sold 3 homes so far this year and you've sold 5. And so guess what? Stop comparing other people's outsides to your insides and get serious about what you want. Is social media capable a viable solution to that? Yeah, absolutely it is.
Yeah, and you're so spot on, and I'm going to refer back to this. Social media is this small piece, right? This small piece amongst all this stuff.
Yeah.
Tristan would love to share this with you, or we can with his permission, but you are spot on, right? In what is your why, right?
Yeah.
And I want to kind of wrap up out of respect of your time.
Yeah.
But give me a nugget for a new agent. I know you've given me plenty. Is it to figure out your why? Is it to get a mentor? Is it to be on a team? Or does that depend?
I think that's a depends conversation, right? Is that whether or not you should be on a team it's a great question to have. There's a lot of conversations in which a coach or a consultant or a team leader like myself, we could prescribe a solution to your audience and say you should do this. The question that I would bring it back to is let's start with tangible. Why'd you get into the business? What is your why for being in the business, for doing something that's hard? Why do I want to work out every day? Is it because I enjoy the pain that I feel while I'm sitting at the gym on the Stairmaster or on the stair climber for 20 minutes, and every single fiber of my being is saying, nobody cares if you're here.
Right.
But if I don't do that, right, there's a whole number of other things that change in my life. So why do I go to the gym? Because I want to be healthier, because I want to live longer, because I want to be more active, and because working out, fitness for most of us is an opportunity to reset the voice in our head to keep it in track, right?
Yeah.
So do those things. I think the other thing I think is the most important is let's talk about the agents who've been in the business for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Those agents right now are the ones that are in the most danger, because what they don't have that you and I have to go back to is I failed miserably when the market fell apart the first time. Miserably. I didn't know how to do the things that I should have known how to do because I skipped steps. So if you're a new agent, I'll tell you this, don't skip the steps. If you're an agent who's been in the business for a few years and you're thinking to yourself, this isn't like I thought it would be, it's no longer fun, I don't know what I'm doing, go back to the beginning, restart the steps that'll get you there. Build your database, tell your story, be authentic, get toe-to-toe, belly-to-belly with people. How do you do that? You got to go out and meet people. I'm going back to door knocking. I know a couple of agents I've talked to recently say, don't door knock, it's dangerous. Maybe it is, and maybe there's something I'm missing, but I'll tell you what, when I door knocked, it was the single largest year-over-year increase in my business because I got really good at not being afraid to have a conversation with people, which gave me more opportunity to define how I could be a resource to you and what that meant for my life. So coming from contribution means getting in front of people and saying, Mike, I know that you know a lot of real estate agents. I know that. And I know that there's a ton of them. There's guys on signs. There's social media. Here's what I am. I'm a great resource for people like you. I'm going to help you get through the process, navigate the waters. I'm going to extract as much friction of this as possible. And you know I'll do that for you because I'm making it my priority. Because, Mike, I don't have 100 clients. I have you and a couple other lucky people I get to work with.
Right.
And I'm going to do the best job I can, and I'm always going to do that best job because what happens to you matters to me. That's the difference. When I can tie my desire to you and you getting what you want means I get what I want, right?
Well, and I think you nailed it. I use the acronym CARE, creating a referable experience, right? The more you start thinking about the client, right, partnering versus the paycheck, life will be fun. and it's so cool. And Nick's referring to the times when rates were down, just everything was super easy. It's not easy, you guys, now, and so to have somebody like Nick, who's going to hold you accountable, or just be your person to, lay your shoulder on, because you're going to get beat up. You're going to have issues. You need to have a resource. Why did this appraisal come in low? Oh, title. Oh, woe me. You need to be pulled out. And I'm here, Nick's here, we'd be honored to help you out. So give me a little bit of contact information. You've done an amazing job, and your leadership skills just spewed out today, man. I mean, I'm utterly impressed. And how do they get a hold of you?
I appreciate that. What do they say? I stand on the shoulders of giants, right? So it makes me look bigger than I am. The people that have mentored me and have been an active part of my development allow me an opportunity to be more articulate about what it sounds like. So to get a hold of me, it's super simple. I'm gonna give you everything I have. You can find me on Instagram at Nicholas Dreher. You can find me on LinkedIn at Nick Dreher. You can find me on Facebook, Nick Dreher. And honestly, I'm not afraid to do this. If you're a person who's struggling in our industry and you're wondering what's going to happen in your life and you don't know who to turn to, and I mean this for the ones that maybe are really desperate and really afraid, or those of you that just want to chat, call me. It's simple. It's 651-428-5626. And for those of you keeping track at home, 5626 actually says loan, LOAN, because when I first got that number 21 years ago, I was in the mortgage business and had a chance to do that. So 651-428-LOAN, 5626. Call me, text me. You want to get a coffee? You want to come and sit down, and you just need somebody to realign it? I don't care if you're with another brokerage. I don't care if you're a mortgage guy, a title person. Call me. Let's have a conversation. The more people I know, the more people that I get to believe that I can provide a positive impact in their life. That fulfills me more than the paycheck does. Yeah. It's also nice to get paid though too sometimes.
It's not, who's kidding who,
We got to do something.
The green's good.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you very much, my friend.
Yeah.
I appreciate you more than you know. And I look forward to our continued partnership. As a little thank you for coming on, I'm going to give you a little gift there, but thank you very much for your input. Your time is precious to me, man, and I appreciate you tremendously. Give me some fives here.
Hey,
we got to get out of these mics,
Yeah, right. We got the mics. Real quick shout out for what you're doing. Doing it like the way you've done it. I've been watching what's happening. I saw Emily on last time.
Yeah.
I hear really great things about her. We were planning to meet before I jumped into the leadership role. I think what you've done with some of your guests, I think you've given them an opportunity to be on, but I will say this about what you've done. I appreciate your tenacity, man. You've been in it with the ups and downs with me as well. You've seen the good and the bad, even the moments where you're completely dumbfounded. I appreciate the fact that you're a testament to doing the work, sticking with it, and that's what I think not only makes you a good mortgage guy, right?
Solid.
Makes you a good it makes you a good buddy, and it makes you a good industry participant. So I'm grateful for you, man.
Thank you. I truly appreciate that, and I appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man.
You got it, brother. Have a good day.